There's something about senior night that gives people a little bit more pride in their university, and that was certainly what we saw in South Bend. Notre Dame was able to beat top-seeded Pitt in Wednesday night's matchup. We didn't think that Pitt would fall or stumble to the Fighting Irish, and yet here we are. This is why it's crazy to be in the men's tournament. This is why it's going to be insane. Somebody's going to get their feelings hurt when it's all said and done. We'll tell you who we think it is on today's show.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Mike Brey struck lightning at the right time, finished off their regular season on a good or better note, dang near for their home matchups. Notre Dame picks up the victory against Pitt. This is Locked On ACC. I'm your host, Candace Cooper, joined by Kenton Gibbs. Each and every day you can find us here talking about all things ACC basketball and football throughout the year. Make sure you download, subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to let us know what's up. Kenton, how we feeling on this Thursday?
I feel great, but I'm sad that we got to break some bad news to Peninsula P. I feel sad, Peninsula be holding it down in the comments for Pitt, but no HTP today. No HTP.
It was certainly no H2P to Pitt because the Panthers were unable to go into South Bend on Notre Dame senior night and win one on the road. Number 25 team lost 88-81. It was just a collective effort from Cormac Ryan, from Laszewski, from Hammond. Everybody wanted to go out on a good note. It was almost 20 points deep for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish at one point. Yes, the Panthers fought back ferociously, put themselves in potential position with 3 minutes left to win the game, came up short, and it really was just they dug themselves in too big of a hole.
Yeah, and this is why our net is so terrible. The top teams keep losing the teams at the bottom. But you know what? Shout out to the Fighting Mike Brey. Shout out to Laszewski, McCormick, and company. They fought. They battled. They came out, punched them in the mouth real quick, and you kept feeling like, all right, Pitt's going to flip a switch. They're going to flip a switch. They're going to flip a switch. And credit to Notre Dame, for every time Pitt went on the run and thought they were getting this thing close, Notre Dame responded time after time again. And at the end, they did just enough to hold them off. So, at the end of the day, you got to give Notre Dame their love for defeating a team that is, I believe, guaranteed a share of the ACC regular season championship at this point.
So currently there's a tie between Pitt, Miami, and Virginia. Pitt and Miami face off on Saturday. Virginia takes on Louisville. So if nothing else, unless something crazy happens, and I feel like Virginia's going to get that lick back, or Louisville could potentially, make sure that they actually secure the win this time, Virginia is guaranteed to have at least a share of the regular season title, and Pitt and Miami, it'll be up for grabs when it's all said and done. Great. Of course, that's how we all drew it up, right? We knew Virginia, Pitt, and Miami were going to be the three teams battling.
Of course, we all saw that coming. We all, we knew coming into this season. Again, those Capels, wherever they go, they're gonna cook something now. They're gonna cook something wherever they at. Let them cook. Let them cook. No, but seriously, this season was a season that was filled with a bit of surprise, filled with a bit of you kind of saw it coming, right? Every year, Virginia's gonna be there. They're gonna be one of those teams that you're like, they're going to be at the top. Miami was a team that with Wong coming back, you knew that this was going to be a team that had the ability to get there, but whether or not they had the right mental makeup to make it was going to be the question. And obviously they answered that with a resounding yes. Yeah. Pitt is the wild card of the group, of course, because nobody saw this coming. Many people were thinking, oh, Capel's out. He's going to be back at Duke as a assistant or maybe a head coach if Shire falters in a big way. And yet he's making a way up there at Pitt. So
100%. I also think Nike Sibande has been a nice and pleasant surprise, him being the sixth man of the year, arguably. He's just been that breath of fresh air that the Panthers have needed. And really, it has been a team situation for those guys in terms of who's going to step up each night. It's unfortunate that Notre Dame was their pitfall. I certainly didn't think that this would be the game that, tripped them up towards the end. I felt like Miami was going to take that dub on Saturday, but still remains to be seen. A lot of basketball to be played. I think that's what makes this so fun about men's basketball. I will say it is crazy to me how with Big 12, with SEC, with Big 10, it's like, oh, they're beating each other up. It's because they're just all so dominant and good. But when you talk about that in the ACC, it's like, oh, see, that's why you can't trust them. That's why they're not great. It's like, bro, what are we watching the same games here? Like, I just finished watching Auburn, Alabama. Auburn was, came up short by 5 against our number 2 Alabama team. And yet it's as if, ACC is just a bunch of old scrubs each and every day as they enter the floor.
Well, Coach Oates over there, all he wants is shooters. That's all he would. Never mind, too soon. But in all seriousness, I mean, that is a very unfair rap that the ACC did. I mean, yes.
But why? When did the ACC in men's basketball especially become this joke?
It's a combination of two things. Number one, net ratings are a joke, but we keep taking them serious. Again, anytime you say winning is bad for a team who wins, if you're in a situation where winning a game is bad for you, whatever ratings
you need to reassess
that. You need to reassess that, because if you beat this team, they go from a net quad 1 to quad 2, and you want a quad 1 loss over a quad 2 win. What?
Yeah.
Well, how does that make sense? And the other thing is the blue bloods aren't good. Let's just be honest. Louisville, whether people want to acknowledge it or not, is a blue blood. They're one of the worst teams in the country right now in terms of Power 6 teams. The two blue bloods in the triangle in Duke and North Carolina, Duke undefeated at home. And yet nobody's talking about them as one of the best teams in the nation for very good reason.
But what's crazy is even our new bloods aren't doing great. Florida State was supposed to be this new fresh team that comes in and changes the game when it comes to basketball. Leonard Hamilton and company are this new wave of just college hoops, especially on the men's side of things. And it's been a rough go. But I think Tallahassee.
I think that people aren't giving proper credit to the teams that are good. I think that these teams are going to go deeper in the tournament than people expect. A lot of these teams are going to look up and say, man, oh my God, how did this team make it so deep in the tournament? How did all of these teams win 2, maybe more games? And the answer is going to be because y'all sat there and said they were bad all year, and y'all didn't stop for a second to think, what if the net is wrong? Mm-hmm. What if the possibility of the net being wrong? Again, if you watch a lot of these teams that lost out-of-conference games to really, really good teams out of conference, you say to yourself, well, they lost the game, so it doesn't matter. Well, it does matter how they lose those games. If you're playing one of the best teams in the country, Kansas has consistently been one of the best teams in the country. If you saw when they played NC State, that game was not close because Kansas had a bad night. No. Kansas won that game because they had a great night. They had players hitting shots where you tip your cap and move on. You watch the ACC Big Ten Challenge, which I believe this was the last year of it happening. Mm-hmm. You watch some of those games, and some of the games that the ACC lost, you're looking at the Big Ten players. I mean, you're looking at the Big Ten teams that they lost to, and we're like, hey, if they hit that shot, you tip your cap and move on.
And the ACC won the challenge.
And I was just about to say, the ACC also won that challenge. So you talk about the what the conferences are or not. It's so interesting to me to say, oh, the Big Ten is the better conference, yet they lost the challenge. Oh, well, the ACC is so terrible, yet at every single turn except the net, at almost every other thing except the net, all of our teams are really good. It's just you have teams at the bottom that everybody says are terrible, but even our teams at the bottom, you go to sleep if you want to on that terrible Louisville team, and if you do not wake up soon enough, LL has done handed you an L.
Yeah.
You go to sleep on some of these bad teams. You go to sleep on Boston College if you want to, and the postman, Mr. Post, is going to come drop you off on the 20 and 10. Congratulations. You got what you wanted.
Yeah.
So, I think that we are just as much as those other conferences cannibalizing each other because we have more good teams than people are giving us credit for.
Now, let me tell you, as hard as we're going about the ACC, I love, I'm a soldier. I'll ride for you any other time. You better get in this tournament. Don't you embarrass me. Every last one of y'all better get out the first round. Do not have these people being right. No? Okay. That's not going to happen.
Let somebody else do it. Everybody not making that. Listen now. Listen, I come from
see what
now, hold on.
Okay.
Let me say this.
Okay.
Because I don't want anybody to listen to this show to get it twisted and say, oh, can Kansas take the ACC?
Yeah.
I don't think there's a single conference that every single team that they have makes it out the first round. Let's go there. Other than just confidence.
Okay, if you don't make it out of the first round, don't embarrass me either. Can we need to have some sort of?
Okay. I'm gonna say this. I believe over half of the teams that make it will make it out the first round. I believe over half. I believe over half.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. All right, we're going to talk through more than just the men's side of things. Of course, ACC women's tournament kicked off on Wednesday. But first, if you have some of your favorite ACC alum in the NBA right now, I bet you want to get in on some betting action. The midway point of the NBA season is here. Playoffs is around the corner. A lot of teams are going to have their feelings hurt come April, May, and June. Make sure you get with our FanDuel, America's #1 sports book and the official sports book of Locked On, because new customers get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets if their first bet doesn't win. You can bet on everything from money line to point scorers and threes drained. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with the same game parlay. So don't miss your chance to get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/locked on. That's FanDuel.com/locked on. Rocking and rolling with Kenton Gibbs here. We're talking through the men's side of the business, but we all know that some women's hoops went down. The ACC tournament is underway in Greensboro. Wednesday was full of action. No surprises, but yet and still it's preparation for what will be a great session tonight, okay? So talking about the women's games, Wake Forest beat Virginia 68-57. A better year for Virginia than we thought they'd have. We got to give them that nod. Lots of room for growth.
Absolutely. Getting a win against a top 15 team in NC State at the time, which they were, huge for them. Yes, you want to see more consistency and all that, but they've shown flashes. And at this point, with what we saw, it wasn't a flash, it wasn't a snap, it wasn't a crackle, it wasn't a pop out of that team last year. So to see flashes of a team that could build something special going forward, that's a tall task for Virginia, which they gave.
That's a potential mate right there. Clemson beat Pitt 71-53. Pitt has struggled all season with their offense. It was no different here today. Good on Clemson. We figured they could be a team that disrupts some folks as they move on in this tournament. Boston College beat Georgia Tech 62-57. The Eagles rolling, beat a Georgia Tech team that's just had a really tough go this season. Again, overall, not really surprising wins there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, all of the teams that you just named, I believe Pitt was at the bottom of the conference this year. So, I mean, Clemson beating them, not too much of a surprise there. Dontavia Wagner and company up at Boston College pulling out a win as well. I mean, she's been a player that, if there was a tier of like the players who are right below the like player of the year caliber players, that top 5 or so, she'd definitely be in that conversation heavily. And so, this is none of these results are all that shocking or heart-stopping.
1,000%. As we look to today's matchup starting at the bright and early hour of 11 a.m., Wake Forest will take on Florida State. Miss Lotson and company ready to deliver their first ACC tournament experience. I think it'll be a good one. It should go handily to the Seminoles. Crazier things have happened, but I'm feeling good about the Seminole chances in this one. What about you?
It's a tall order. That's a really, really tall task for Jewel Spear and company that I'm not sure they got in them. The only hope for them is that the moment is too big for the young duo of Latson and I believe it's Michaela Thompson or Thomas out there at Florida State. I hope I hope that this game is an entertaining one, but their only hope is that the moment is too big for the young talent over at Florida State and they can kind of, if they play their best game and Florida State plays their worst, we've seen it all year with the ACC. Anybody can get it at any time.
1,000%. Syracuse and NC State. Syracuse, a team that you can't really sleep on. Certainly have had some buckets over there. I think that NC State, with injuries and what they're battling, they just got to come out with a clean bill of health. And if they do that, I think they have a fair shake, but it's going to be a tall task already out the gate.
So here's what I'll say about this game. NC State beat Syracuse earlier this year, and they also did that without Diamond Johnson. However, that win took everything. It took a comeback, a fierce comeback. It took a dominating fourth quarter. I mean, this team, the question about this team and their constitution is going to be, long story short, how locked in can you be? How much energy and effort can you give after a season that's been long? The team's been just beaten up on and had some very tough injuries, had a lot of situations where players transfer in the middle of the season, having to be 7 deep, not by choice, but by force. That's all you got. This team has been through a lot. How do they finish here?
1,000%. I honestly think Syracuse is going to upset NC State here tomorrow. But crazier things have happened. This NC State team is strong. And like you said, they have not lost an ACC tournament in God knows what, 3 years now?
Yeah, 3 years.
3 years. Clemson will face off against number 18 North Carolina at 6 p.m. A Clemson team that's rolling. They're a day in. Got a little fatigue. But this North Carolina team is one that can get tripped up easily. So they can't come out playing with their food, especially on that offensive side. They're going to have to figure it out early and sort of put this one away.
Here's why you can't play with your food against Clemson. They're a high-powered offense.
Yeah.
And if you come out slow and sluggish against that high-powered offense, they can give you the type of lead that even while, me and you could probably go out there and put up 10 apiece on Clemson. The reality is they're the type of team that if you let them get hot early, you will have a hard time stopping them down the stretch. So I do agree that, North Carolina could get tripped up here, but we'll see.
Yeah. Boston College will face off against the Cavender Twins in Miami. I think Miami is a team that, you can't really count out. They certainly have some good offensive performances when they want to. But as you mentioned, the Eagles definitely are feeling the energy after one game in and can certainly keep things rolling.
The Cavender Twins get the job done here. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, they're that duo that they got, as well as some of the other pieces that they got. There's a reason that they were in the championship last year. And yes, those players are gone for the most part. Most of the leading scorers and whatnot from that team are gone. But there is something about a team that knows how to have success in the tournament, that knows what this feels like and knows what it looks like. I think that they have enough to advance here.
Yeah, 1,000%. All right, so we have got through the Thursday games. Make sure you guys check those out on our ACC network here. I want to get back to and maybe round out the show. As we mentioned, the men's tournament is upon us next week. Our top 4 right now would be Pitt, Miami, UVA, and Clemson. But you got good teams in Duke, NC State, North Carolina, Wake Forest, who I still feel like someone is going to upset. And even when I look at the lower tier, somebody's going to play with their food. Boston College should come in and take your cookies. Notre Dame, clearly. Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, Syracuse. The only one I'm not too worried about, Louisville. But if you had to make a prediction of a couple teams that everyone should just keep their eye on, don't kind of count out just yet, who would it be?
I mean, it's too many to name, honestly. I could do one of those things where I start rambling about everybody. It's possible here.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you this. Honestly, even if you look at Louisville and say, oh, they're so bad, there's no way. We've seen there is very much so a way.
But is that disappointing for you that we have so many troublemakers and not enough standouts?
Yes, it is a little troubling for me. And it kind of does speak to the thing, because a part of why people have the perception of the conference is bad is, yes, the blue bloods aren't being good. And yes, the net rankings are working out great, sure. But also our quote unquote standouts, every time you want to pat them on the butt, you pull back a handful of crap. Every time you want to give somebody congratulations and say, oh man, the Capos up there are doing something special, Laszewski said, they doing what up there? Oh, don't worry. We'll show you something special, all right. We might not be the fighting Mike Brey's beyond 2 more games, but you know what? One of them going to be an upset over a top 25 team. You look at Louisville and say, does Kenny Payne deserve to keep his job? And they say, does he deserve what? He may not deserve to keep his job, but we're going to give him a win over a team that's getting a double bye in Clemson.
See, I know these coaches have been given the hell of a speeches like, y'all know y'all could do this, or after these big wins being like, see, this is what this program could be. This is what you guys could tap into. And so for me, I'm like, how do y'all be so hot and cold with it? That's just crazy.
And the only coach that I think had a legitimate argument to tell his players, like, y'all really are this, down there at Florida State. Coach Ham actually had the argument of like, we've been banged up all year and teams have been thanking their lucky stars that we got some 7-footers that are in walking boots for the whole season, because Lord knows we was going to get in some behinds. We've just been very hurt. But all of these other teams pulling off upsets is just like, whew, if we could avoid quad 3 losses, that'd be great, guys. That'd be really, really great.
It's crazy that 2023, if you look at the men's tournament, it's going to be a photo finish towards the end. You look at the top four, they're certainly not your conventional ACC teams with Pitt, Miami, yes, UVA, Clemson. I'm so used to Duke. I'm so used to UNC. I'm so used to like even Syracuse being in the conversation. I just really want there to be a stone cold straight path winner. And even as I enter into probably going into Tuesday of next week, I don't know that I can make a case for everybody, but I could also sell everybody a bill of goods and have you being upset if you put that money down on one of these programs.
You're a big Kawhi Leonard fan, right?
I am.
There are people who are big Kyrie Irving fans. There were at least people who were big Ben Simmons fans. There are obviously people that are LeBron fans.
Yeah.
The league is turning over. It's a different time. It's Luka's time. It's Jokic's time. It's
Darius Garland's time.
Yeah. It's Giannis's time. It's Darius Garland and D-Mitch. It's their time. With that being said, the same thing is happening in college basketball. A lot of people were fans of K. We're fans of Roy. We're fans of Jim. We're fans of all of these coaches who had dominated for as far as the eye could see for years, right? The sun never set on their empires. But all good things come to an end.
We didn't appreciate what we had when we had it.
I'm going to say that way? I'm going to say this. I heard somebody, I'm not going to say no names, somebody told me that anything short of a national championship appearance for their school was a failure, and that means that their coach failed only succeeded 4 or 5 out of the 20 years he was there. The reality is we need to be honest with ourselves about who our teams are, because we can love on and appreciate what we got in front of us.
Wow. You can think that your team standard is winning a national championship and fall short of that and still feel like there's a successful season while still saying the standard is a national championship. Like, I don't think those are mutually exclusive. I don't think those, yeah.
But I mean, that's kind of the definition of standard, right? Like, if your standard for your kids is, hey,
Nick Saban's standard is winning a national championship, no?
Yeah. And
when he doesn't win, then
Bama fans lose their minds. That not a single Bama fan is like, we beat Kansas State in a New Year's Six bowl. We did the thing. Nobody's saying that.
But nobody's also saying, well, not now, yes, because people are crazy. But back then, nobody was like, oh my gosh, fire Saban yesterday. Like, he doesn't know what he's doing. This the whole time he's won how many national championships? They still wanted him fired? But the years that he didn't win it?
But that's what I'm saying.
I'm asking.
No. What I'm saying is when Saban first got there, the standard was not national championship, right?
Sure.
He builds that into, okay, we're dominating. We got Mark Ingram winning Heisman. We got Derrick Henry winning Heisman. We got Derrick Henry was dribbling people off the ground as if they were basketball. So this is being basketball season. And all of a sudden, the standard becomes national. If you don't win the national championship, it's not good enough, because that's the standard that was set consistently. If you put $1 million on Alabama to win a national championship at the beginning of the season for the past, I don't know, say decade or so, you would have won more money than you lost. And that's what I mean in terms of, like, if you're going to have that be the standard, it needs to be met a significant portion of the time. You can't say it's the standard if it's like once every blue moon. That's not once every 5 years is once every blue moon.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? So,
sure.
But that's neither here nor there. We're getting into semantics of a conversation that we've had before.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is this: the sun has set on some empires. New kings will rise, and that's what's happening in essence. We're kind of.
I mean, Hubert Davis was in the national championship game last year, so it's not like North Carolina is over here way out the way. But
absolutely. And I'll tell you this. The ugliest thing about college basketball is the most beautiful thing about college basketball. The regular season doesn't matter all that much.
Sure.
Like if we saw it last year. Remember last year at this time, was the talk about the ACC men's basketball different? Was it different than it is this year?
No, it's almost, it is worse this year, but yeah.
But the talk was virtually.
They did say only one they said only one team was going to the NCAA tournament last year.
But the talk was virtually identical in terms of the ACC is terrible. They're the bad news bears. Nasty, dirty, can't do nothing right. They couldn't throw a ball in the ocean.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, half of the Final Four Duke, and Carolina. And people are, I never said the ACC was bad. You said the ACC was bad, not me.
But wouldn't that make y'all feel like y'all come into this season and give us more grace, or y'all nutty? Like, I don't. That's why I'm going back to it. I don't understand.
And here's how that worked out. They did give grace, right? UNC, number 1 team in the nation, and then all of a sudden, pew.
But because UNC is bad, that means everybody else is bad. Like Miami's still okay.
And that's my point. When they did the net the way that when the net exists, the words just beat me up right there real bad. When the net exists in the way that it does to function to say, I can rank every team across the country based on very simple metrics. This team is good. This team is bad, and yada, yada, yada.
Is the net man-made? Like, it's not based on like straight up win-loss. Like, I love having you on the show because I don't get it for nothing. I don't understand any of it. It's all hubbub to me.
So basically it quantifies how efficient your team is against the opponents that you're playing. So that's why I said a loss could be better than a win in certain situations, because when you're quantifying the efficiency against certain teams, if you lost to a team at home, or if you were on the road and lost to a team very closely, that can mean more than beating that same team at home if that team would then be deemed less efficient because you won the game.
So it's a very flawed system.
Yes, it's a very flawed system.
Okay.
That
was my takeaway.
Mm-hmm. Whenever you leave computers to do something, I mean, it's a reason that we still have software engineers, right? Like if computers were perfect, we wouldn't need them anymore. We would simply say, hey, Chat GPT, program everything else, and it would just do it, and everything would be perfect on the accordance of computers. It doesn't exist yet, right?
And maybe we figure out what's the best system, and we'll talk about that on a later show and all the things. So I would love to get back to just X's and O's, W's, L's, and keep it pushing.
I mean, it's partly both. So Here's how it works. Here's how the selection.
Nope.
I was just about to say I'm not going to go into detail because it's
please,
a lot.
Jesus.
But basically, we have a selection committee.
Sure.
However, the selection committee in and of themselves sometimes takes the net and all that a little too deep into consideration when, it's because, like
but that's to me because they don't pay attention throughout the year. They're just like, oh, this is what your net ends up being. So oop-de-oop. You know what I mean? Like, you're not actually watching with your eyeballs.
It's like the meme that says analytics and stat nerds, and it's the guy looking at the side of the boulder that's like, or looking at the side of the mountain where it's just wall and concrete or whatever. And then it's the person looking out the window that says he got that dog in him. It's basically the old mind of, does the eye test surpass what analytics tell us? And again, the analytics are flawed, but they're analytics that were created for a reason. So, I mean, this is
kind of a nice little dance. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like most things in life, it requires balance. It's a balance between the pure eye test, I can feel that he'll have trouble hitting the curve, and the analytics of, Moneyball, he gets on base. It's the blend between those.
I'm more of an eye test girl. Like, I don't have to give you every X and O scheme play to know either he got that dog or he don't, he a punk or he not. Like, I feel like I'm just naturally gifted in that ability. I think I'm an expert in the eye test.
I mean, listen, the problem is the eye test is subject to bias. It's subject to,
I don't know what you're saying. I believe that the guys in the baby blue should be in the tournament, but that's just me.
Subject to bias, as I was referring to just a second ago, right?
My eye test says they're going to be a lot better than people think, but hey.
But I agree. I do agree that a lot of teams in the ACC that everybody say, they're just so bad. Yeah. I'm telling you right now, I have been saying all year, DJ Burns ain't did a move to the right yet. And you know what's funny? You know what's really funny about DJ Burns and strictly going left?
Yeah.
He's one of the most efficient players in the ACC in terms of
sure is. You think people will watch some film by now.
But that's the thing. They are watching film. They care about stopping DJ a lot more than we care about talking about him.
That's fair.
And he does his thing. So there is that, the analytics say, hey, percentage-wise, he's probably going to do da-da-da-da-da.
Are you an analytics guy or eye test?
I'm a mix, but I lean a little bit more towards the analytics. I lean a little bit more.
And that's why we make such a great team. It truly is.
But again, I acknowledge when analytics don't make sense, like with the net. I've been screaming for weeks. The net doesn't make sense because it doesn't. It just objectively doesn't.
Well, that net, internet, all the nets, it can be a wild place.
The Brooklyn nets don't matter. It ain't making sense right now. It ain't making sense.
Either way.
ACC
right. Okay. Make sure you guys check out all of our episodes each and every day. We'll have full coverage here as we go through the ACC women's tournament. Again, a lot of good things happening. And, our top 4 seeds happen on Friday. Saturday matchups could be very big implications for the men's side. There's going to be a lot going down there, so make sure you check it out. If you want to have a good indication of how the net could be playing in favor of college basketball, make sure you check out the Locked On College Basketball Show each and every day. Those guys do an excellent job over there. Subscribe to their YouTube channel. For Candace Cooper and Kenton Gibbs, we are rolling out here one good time, and we hope you have a great rest of your day. Until next time.